Gentleman yields back. Now recognize Ms. Leger Fernandez for her time of questioning.
Thank you, and, well, thank you. So, for months, my phones have been ringing off the hook, and I know everybody's phones have been ringing off the hook because Americans have been calling us because they are freaked out. In fact, Americans have been calling us so much that they have shut down the phone system at times because they're so upset about what Trump is doing, what Doge is doing, what Musk is doing. And, I've not fielded a single call asking for this name change, but Americans really disapprove of what Donald Trump and the Republican leaders are doing to their pocketbooks, their Social Security, their health care. They don't like the fact that Trump is ignoring the Constitution and doesn't believe in the basic value of due process. Hell, on the interview on NBC, he didn't even seem to know that due process was guaranteed under the Constitution and had to be honored. And the reality is Americans thought that Trump, and they voted for him, and they feel betrayed because they thought he was going to address costs on day one. But what have we seen instead of Trump addressing costs on day one? We've already had the first quarter of negative growth. That's the beginning of a recession. And everybody says a recession is coming because of Trump's policies, because of Trump's tariffs. Madam President, I ask for unanimous consent to enter into the record the Fox News poll. There's lots of other news polls out there, but just so that people know, this is coming from the Republicans. The Fox News poll that shows 56% of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the economy, 58% disapprove of his tariffs, and 59% disapprove of how he's handling or not inflation. And it's this idea that he's not handling what's important that has Americans upset. Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I said Madam Chairman.
Gentlelady is asked to have the Fox polling put into the record without objection. So ordered.
So according to a poll published by the Washington Post newspaper and ABC News, only 39% of Americans approve of how Trump is handling his presidency, and they think he is going too far. Because he keeps doing things like this, and like the tariffs, which are serious. I'm sorry if I reacted to the idea that part of this may have come out of a comedian, but the tariffs are hurting people. And most Republicans, not all, I recognize that Representative Hageman has had a town hall. Most Republicans don't even want to hold town halls because their voters are so mad at them. I did a town hall in one of Ken Calvert's towns on Saturday. They were so disappointed that he hadn't showed up to answer their questions about Medicaid, about Social Security. But you know who was particularly upset in that audience? The veterans. We had multiple veterans get up and say, he's not showing up to answer our questions. And you know what else is upsetting? The idea that he could just say we are going to rename Veterans Day Victory Day. We're going to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. We're going to rename things. The fact that he is acting like a tyrant and saying we're going to do things that I want because I want them to. And that Republicans are then going to go along. So these are just a bunch of ego trips. His birthday parade, $45 million that he says it's going to cost, but we should all be happy. Another idea about this is about ego, not about caring for your community. And you know what? The Gulf of Mexico doesn't need a new name. It's been that name for a long time. Yes, it may have other ideas, but over from 1552, and let me tell you, I'm from New Mexico. I am from New Mexico. New Mexico doesn't need a new name either. New Mexico, our name reflects that there is a complex history, and that when you understand the complexity of history, the diversity of your history, you are better off for it. So let's leave the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of Mexico. But if you want to rename it, since we're not doing what everybody wants us to do, How about naming it the Gulf of Plunder? Because you're here from natural resources, but we know that tomorrow, we're going to take a bill tomorrow, aren't we? And it's going to be about plundering the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to be about giving oil and gas companies more power, more money, and more control over our lives without any consequences. It's going to let them lower the royalty rates, take more money of our resources that belong to the American people. Let them have them for cheap, on the cheap. Let them not have to be accountable for the pollution they leave. That is called plundering America's resources. And we should be protecting those resources in the Gulf of Mexico. And with that, I don't know if Representative Hoyle, you want to add anything to anything you've heard today? I am the last Democrat, so this is your last chance if you want to just add anything.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Ms. Leger Fernandez. I think that you said it exactly right. Again, I have done 12 town halls and throughout my district in the most conservative and in the most progressive, and there's standing room only, and people are concerned about NOAA, about tariffs, about veterans care, about FEMA, about wildfire response, about all the things they want government to work. And yes, we should work on waste, fraud, and abuse, absolutely. And that's not what this is. And this is going to, the costs are going to be borne by our local schools. And you may say it's just a little bit, but every little bit counts, especially in our rural communities. So I think you and Ms. Scanlon said it well, and I really wish we could be focusing on things that we could do together. And there's a lot that can be done. And this seems like a waste of time and taxpayer dollars.
Thank you very much, and it is absolutely true. The voters want us to be taking up those tariffs, and I keep saying it. If they believe the tariffs are great, take them up, debate them, but that's our job. That's what we should be doing, not renaming the Gulf of Mexico. So thank you very much, and with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Now recognize Ms. Fishbach for her time of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just have a question. You're so concerned about the money.